Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the second round of fixtures predictions for the Premier League. Now, taking a look back at last week, I only correctly predicted one score, which was quite disappointing, but it was Leicester to beat Wolves 1-0. I got that one correct. I'll be hoping to get more correct this week, although there's obviously only 10 games rather than 12, so maybe one is okay, but I want to try and aim for 2 scores correct this week. So let's get into my predictions. And starting off with the 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday, it's Liverpool versus Burnley. Now, Liverpool, although they did win 3-0 against Norwich, I wouldn't say it was a 3-0 game. Norwich did create a lot of chances, but they just lacked the clinicality to put them away. And Liverpool had Salah, Jota, Firmino all up front, so it was always going to be a tale of one team not being clinical enough. And I'm not surprised Liverpool won, but I don't think it was a 3-0. Norwich didn't do too badly. Burnley, they lost 2-1 to Brighton. Didn't really do too much, didn't look great. But I think they might have the same issue that Norwich had of not being clinical enough up front. So I'm predicting Liverpool to win 2-0. Moving into the 3 o'clock kickoffs now, and starting with Villa versus Newcastle. Now, Villa were poor against Watford in that 3-2 loss. They were 3-0 down. They made a change of Matt Targett off for Ashley Young, and I've heard they did get better from that point because Matt Targett didn't have a great game and was at fault for a few of the goals. Ended 3-2, but Watford probably deserved the win, and they were very clinical, which surprised me. Newcastle, they lost 4-2 to West Ham, but they did have a very good first half, and West Ham's quality sort of came through in the second half. I think West Ham started a bit slowly, but Newcastle did hold their own, and they looked okay. They looked better than I expected. So for this one, I'm going to go a tightly contested 1-1 draw. Moving into the next game, Crystal Palace versus Brentford. And Brentford were brilliant against Arsenal on the Friday night. First game of the season, and they really surprised them and surprised a lot of people. I predicted a 1-1 for that game, and I did think they'd get a point, but I didn't see them taking all 3 in the fashion that they did. The thing about that game was Arsenal had a lot of the ball, and Brentford sort of hit them on the chances they got. I don't think Palace are going to have a lot of the ball this game, so Brentford are going to have to adapt and play a different game here. Palace didn't look too great, but they were playing Chelsea, who I predicted to win the league, and that was a Chelsea team that didn't have players like Lukaku even in it. Thiago Silva wasn't in it, so that wasn't full strength, which it scares me a bit. I think Chelsea will be very good, but Palace, I think they will do a bit better here because they're not playing such a strong team. I can see this being a 1-1 draw. On to Leeds versus Everton. And Leeds, they didn't look great in that 5-1 loss to United, but they were missing Calvin Phillips, and he seems like the glue. He seems like he holds that team together, picks up loose balls, plays passes. He's very pivotal to that team. So if they do have him back this game, I think they'll have a much better chance. Everton, they really improved in the second half against Southampton. Weren't great in the first, but they did improve. They turned it around and they ended up winning comfortably 3-1. I think this game is going to be full of goals, but I think both teams will be getting goals, and I can see this being a very exciting 2-2 draw. Moving on to the last 3 o'clock kickoff game, and it's Man City versus Norwich. Now, Norwich, they didn't look too bad against Liverpool. As I said earlier, they lost 3-0, but they were just lacking a clinical striker up front to put away the chances that they were creating, because they didn't look too bad in attack. Now, Man City, they looked a shell of themselves against Tottenham. I know they were missing De Bruyne, but they've got the new £100 million boy Grealish, so thought they would have done a bit better. However, I think Man City, they've just got too much quality for this game, surely. And Norwich have got a very hard start to the season, some really tough fixtures. So, although I do remember seeing that 3-2 win to Norwich a few years ago in this fixture, and that was pretty crazy, so anything can happen. But in all seriousness, I think Man City do have too much quality, and I expect them to win. So I'm going to go for Man City to win 2-0. On to Saturday's late game now, and it's Brighton versus Watford. Now, Brighton, they looked pretty good against Burnley. They seemed to control the game, and they came back and won 2-1. Watford, they beat everybody's dark horses for Europe this season, Villa, and they looked really clinical. For this one, I think it could really go either way. I could see either team winning it. However, I think the points will be shared, and I can see a 1-1 draw. Moving on to Sunday's fixtures now, and starting with Southampton versus Man United. Southampton, they didn't look great. They did seem to struggle against Everton. They got the first goal, but it all sort of fell apart from there. And after losing Vestergaard, adding that to losing Ings, I think they might struggle this season quite a bit. However, Man United, on the other hand, looked absolutely brilliant in the 5-1 demolition job of Leeds. Bruno Fernandes and Pogba stole the show. Fernandes with a hat-trick, Pogba with 4 assists, which is more assists than he got in the whole of last season, which I thought was quite a crazy stat because he came off after like 70-odd minutes. However, United, obviously, they look the stronger side. Southampton did lose 9-0 to them last season. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I still can see Man U winning this quite comfortably. I think it's going to be Man United 3, Southampton 0. On to the next game, which is Wolves versus Tottenham. Now, Wolves, they didn't look too bad even though they lost 1-0 to Leicester. They created plenty of chances. Adama Traore missed one that he really should have been putting away. And I think they'll be okay this season in attack. I know they weren't too good last season after they lost Jimenez, but I think there's plenty of goals in this Wolves team. Spurs, they were very good against Man City defensively and on the counter-attack. Got that first goal, held City out pretty comfortably, ended 1-0. Fair play to Nuno. Nuno back against Wolves in only the second game of the season. It came quite early. I can sort of see Wolves, like in my head, I can imagine Wolves could just flick a switch and score quite a few goals and win this match. But I feel like after the performance from Spurs last week, I have to back them. So I'm going to go for Tottenham to win 1-0. Into the last game of Sunday, and it's Arsenal versus Chelsea. And Arsenal were humiliated by Brentford last week in that 2-0 loss. To lose to the new boys like that who have never been in the Premier League, it's got to be hard for the fans to see. And although they dominated possession, they had loads of chances, they just couldn't put it away. Maybe it was due to missing Aubameyang and Lacazette. They did have Balogun up front, who's obviously still quite young, quite raw, and will need a bit of experience. But they weren't great, and they will want to do better here. However, I'm not sure I can see them doing better, as Chelsea, they were brilliant against Palace in that 3-0 win, and they do have a few more players to come back into that squad still, and they've signed Lukaku since. And if he is in this match and if he plays, I can see him scoring a goal against the rivals. Chelsea, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to them. And on to the last fixture, Monday night's game, which is West Ham versus Leicester. West Ham, they were great against Newcastle. They struggled a bit in the first half, but that 4-2 victory, Benrahma was pulling the strings. Antonio also played very well. They looked great. And Leicester, on the other hand, they did okay. They sort of got the job done against Wolves, but it was a game that could have went either way. I think Wolves did enough to win that game, but they just weren't clinical enough. So with this game, I can see there being lots of chances created. It following the trend of the West Ham game rather than the Leicester game and being quite high scoring. And I can see it being even and a 2-2 draw. So those are my Premier League predictions for this week of fixtures. Let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with. Put your predictions down in the comments. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more Premier League and Championship content. Hope you enjoyed this week's fixtures, and hopefully I can get more than one score right this week.